In chapter 17 of Job, Job continues his plea with God and his plea of innocency. We read verse 1 of chapter 17. Ruhi hubala yamai niz achu kevarim li. That is, my spirit has been broken. My days are extinguished or about to be extinguished. Huvala is from the root haval, to break. It's a pual stem, a pual perfect, third feminine singular from haval. And then nizahu is from za'ach, to extinguish. It's a nifal. My days have uh, are about to be extinct or extinguished or extinct, I should say. Uh, Here we have a nifal, uh, perfect, third person plural, common plural from za'ach. Uh, Kevarim is tombs are for me, or burial places are for me. And so Job here has no spirit left, and he sees death as very near in light of his afflictions and what is happening. Verse 2, Im lo hatulim imadi. Surely, or indeed, uh, there are mockers with me, or mockery is with me. Uvehamerotam talen enai. Here we have surely there is mockery, or indeed there is mockery imadi with me, and in their rebelliousness my eye lodges, or it abides. Tallinn. Notice be here is your preposition hamerotam. We're looking at a hifil infinitive construct from mara, followed by the pronominal suffix third masculine plural in the So they're causing to let's say causing rebellion or their rebelliousness. My eye is lodging. Here we have from loon, the stem. Is caused to lodge, talain. It is a hifil imperfect third feminine singular from loon. My eye is caused to lodge. And so the thought here seems to be Job sees himself surrounded by mockery, seen in the words of his friends. Their accusations are constantly before him, and he cannot shut his eyes to them. They just continue in his eyes, in his mind. And so we continue, Simana, Araveni imak, place now, or be a surety with me. Mihu leyadi yitakea. Who is it for to my hand will strike, or who else outside of you, Lord, will strike hands with me in a deal? Seems to be the idea. Sima is from seem. It's a cow imperative masculine singular, and Araveni is from the root Arav. So uh, place now and be a surety to me with you. Um, Arab here is the form uh, to be a surety. We have an imperative masculine singular from Arab followed by the the personal pronoun, first person. So be a surety with me or for me, for who else uh, can I really strike hands with? Is there to my hands that can be stricken or will be? Here we have a nifal, imperfect third masculine singular from taka, to strike hands. And the thought in verse 3 is he asks God to put down like security or security money for him and defend him against the charges of his friends. He wants God then to give him a pledge that he will defend his integrity. And then in verse 4, he continues, for you, ki libam safanta misachel, for you have hidden their heart from understanding. Safanta is from safan, to hide. It is the cow perfect second masculine singular. Wherefore, uh, you shall not exalt them or lift them up. From marum, we have a polal imperfect second masculine singular. You shall not lift them up. Um, in verse 4, then, such a surety or pledge from God would be necessary to help him, since his friends, due to their lack of understanding in the matter, cannot come to where they contend for Job's innocency. And then we come to verse 5, which is a very, very difficult verse. And there's been a lot of interpretation. La Halek Yagid Re'im Ve'ene Vanav Tiklena. He, for we could say a share of a feast, he is declaring to understood friends, while even the eyes of his children fail. Tiklena. Here, Yagid is from Nagad. It's a Hifil imperfect third masculine singular. And the eyes of his friends shall, of his children shall fail. From Tiklena, cow imperfect third feminine plural. From Kala, to fail. This is a very difficult verse. There's been so many discussions about the verse. The AV has he that speaks flattery to his friends. And the RV, the Revised Version, has he that denounces his friends for a prey. And one of the problems is the halak, which means to be smooth. And some understand this as flattery. For example, Ibn Ezra, and I'm looking at the commentary in the Sonsino commentary, understands this to refer to mean that Job warns his friends that if they denounce him seeking to flatter God, even their children would be punished. So a hypocrite cannot stand before God. This is found on page 87. It's a very difficult verse, and I'm not exactly sure what the meaning is. I have translated it something like this: for a portion, or understanding it a share, like in or a booty in a feast. Um, he declares for his friends, Yagid from not God, as we said. And what is he saying? What is he saying? Well, one possibility is one invites friends to partake at one's table while his children's eyes fail. But the eyes of his children fail. And the meaning then would be that Job's friends invite others to share in their so called wisdom, while they in reality don't have sufficient wisdom to even care for their own family needs. That's one possibility. This is a very difficult verse, and that's a possible way of understanding it. And so he goes on to talk about how he has become like a byword of the people, describing his state now. Vahitsi Nagi Limshol Amim. He has made me, speaking of God, or caused me to be made from Yatsag, a Hifil imperfect third masculine singular from Yatsag, followed by the pronominal suffix first person singular, for a mashal, like a byword uh, of the people, and I am, and as the spitting to the face I am. The tofet lefanim yeh, from haya, cow imperfect first person singular from haya. And following the flow of thought here, it seems Job is using the third person to speak, a personal pronoun, to speak of God, who has brought his present calamity upon him. And the Hebrew word mashal means like a proverb in Proverbs 1:1, for example. So Job's terrible punishment became as well known, or so well known, that people would refer to the punishment of Job, he's saying, when discussing someone else's misfortune. This was a mockery to Job. And it's like being, people then would spit in his face, meaning Job had become an object of disgust and insult. That's the imagery, I believe. And we see similar imagery in Numbers 12:14. And so in verse 17, he says, V'techa mika'as eini. My eye is dimmed from kaha, to grow dim. My eye, it has grown dim by reason of, or because of vexation, the vexation I'm going through. Vitsure katzel kulam, or vitsurai, I should say, and all of my members are as a shadow, all of them. And what he's saying here, it seems to me that I'm like a shadow of my former self. Job was unrecognizable as a result of his troubles, and his eyes are practically blind from so much weeping. And we have a parallel idea of the shadow of his former self in chapter 16, verse 16, Psalm 6:7, and Psalm 31:9. And people cannot even believe that Job is sitting in front of them, because he is not recognizable. And so in verse 8, Yashumu Yesharim Alzot. Because of all of this, upright men are astonished concerning this. Concerning what? That the innocent are suffering. And so Venaki al Chanev Yit Urar. And the innocent against the godless. The innocent stirs himself up against the godless. Yit Horar is a hitpael, imperfect third masculine singular from arar, to stir up. And so the thought here in verse 8, as we continue, is people cannot believe that Job is sitting in front of them because he has become so unrecognizable in his suffering. And above the godless, the righteous will be indignant when they see the wicked prospering while the innocent suffer. This seems to be the thought here. So the upright men are astonished at this, seeing the innocent, uh, and the innocent stirs up himself against the godless, or because of the godless, that the godless are not suffering, but the innocent are, and the righteous then will be indignant when they see the wicked prospering while they see the innocent suffering. So this is a difficult portion for me. I'm going to stop here and trying to capture the flow of thought. I hope might be helpful, and others might have other ideas about certain aspects of this text. Thank you very much.